The Wolverines and the Crimson Tide. Is Michigan football afraid of Alabama football? In this video, I'm going to give my initial thoughts on the Wolverines matchup in the Rose Bowl with the Crimson Tide. Hey everyone, go blue. This is Big Discussions 76 Sports. My name is Dr. Anwar Youssef Dunbar. I am a proud Michigan alum and a proud supporter of the Michigan Wolverines. Go blue. I can't say it enough. Go blue. Shout out to Bo Lytle. Respect is earned. Please like, share, and subscribe. And with that, I will jump in. So I was traveling for the holiday, and I didn't get a chance to weigh in on the seeding of the four teams for the college football playoff. So in this short video, I'm going to give my thoughts on the teams that were selected, and I'm going to give my initial thoughts on the Michigan Wolverines matchup in the Rose Bowl with the Alabama Crimson Tide. All right, everyone. So first, the four teams that were seeded. So Georgia messed around, and this is all review for most of you, but Georgia messed around and lost its championship game. So with them taking that L, Michigan slid into the number one slot, which is actually a high honor for any team to be the number one team in the college football playoff rankings. I kind of didn't want that for our team, not because they weren't deserving, but because that ranking slaps a bullseye on the back of any team. And so I think it was a foregone conclusion that if Michigan beat Iowa, which they did, they would get in. Of course, Washington unfortunately beat Oregon. I was rooting for Dan Lanning in Oregon for my own personal reasons. But then the question was, who would the other two teams be? Texas got the nod. And then the question was, who would the fourth team be? I didn't see the selection show. I was at church, at my mother's church on Sunday. And then I got out and I saw that it was Bama of all teams. So I was surprised, but not surprised. I was looking for Florida State to get in there. They won their championship game. They were still undefeated. Of course, the committee thought with their backup quarterback, with their starting quarterback being out and their second string quarterback being concussed, maybe they weren't one of the worthy teams to be in there. But I was thinking maybe Michigan would draw Florida State. To me, that's a more reasonable 1 versus 4 matchup. But instead, they threw the Tide in there. And so that's a much different thing than playing Florida State or some other school. So initially, I was surprised. And like a lot of people, I was like, wow, is that a 4 seed? Do we really want our team playing Alabama in the first game? But it is what it is. This is what the football gods conjured up for our beloved maize and blue. And this is what the College Football Playoff Committee thought was best. I don't know if there was a bit of, I don't know if this was set up with a bit of animosity against Coach Harbaugh and the program. But at this point, it is what it is. It's Michigan versus Bama, the Wolverines versus the Crimson Tide, Coach Jim Harbaugh versus Chef Saint Nick. Chef, because a lot of people think that Alabama cooks and bakes its schedule. so they don't really play anybody, though they did play Texas at the beginning of this season. So that's the matchup. It is what it is. And so in the rest of this video, I'm going to give my thoughts on the game and what I hope to see from our beloved Maize and Blue when they take the field on January 1st in Pasadena, California, against the Alabama Crimson Tide. So I will make more videos leading up to the Rose Bowl matchup between Michigan and Alabama. But right now, I only have two asks. I only have two things that I'm looking for. I'm asking Santa Claus for two things for this matchup with Bama. The first thing is for Michigan to match Alabama's physicality. Because when you think about the SEC, when you think about SEC teams, all you hear is that the number of national titles they've won since the playoffs started. You hear about the number of five-star players their teams have relative to the other conferences. You hear about the number of players that they send to the NFL versus the other conferences, and how many of their players get drafted in the first round versus the other conferences. So what I'm hoping, and what I'm hoping Santa Claus drops in all of our stockings, is that the Wolverines match the Crimson Tide's physicality, that they're not intimidated, that they're not afraid, that they hit Alabama back, and that they don't back down, and that they take on the challenge, and that they're not overwhelmed by their opponents from the SEC, who a lot of people are looking at and saying, hey, Alabama's physically better, Michigan doesn't have a chance. I was just looking at the prediction on CBS, and the majority of their pundits have already picked Alabama. So that's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping the Wolverines are able to match the Crimson Tide's physicality and intensity. Okay, we've seen in these playoffs, we've seen Alabama overwhelm other teams. I'm thinking about that semifinal matchup with Notre Dame years ago. It was easy to see in that matchup that there were two different levels of athleticism between those two teams, and that was in favor of Alabama. So I think we'll see that early, particularly in the trenches. Michigan has had some injuries to its offensive line, and they've had their issues this year. So hopefully this month will allow Drake Nugent and others to heal up and rest up. And that's one of my hopes for this game, is that Michigan is able to match Bama's athleticism and physicality in the game. And so it's not going to be your stereotypical game where your SEC team is demolishing the Big Ten team. So that's one of my hopes for this game. You know, the other time we saw a Big Ten team get steamrolled by an SEC team, the 2006 Ohio State Troy Smith team, when they matched up with Urban Meyer's Florida Gators, that game was over when it started initially. And Florida was either better prepared, or they were just physically better and tougher than the Ohio State Buckeyes. But anyway, my second ask, the second thing I'm asking Santa Claus to drop in our Maize and Blue stockings, is for the coaching staff. The coaching staff to properly scheme for this game and to make the proper in-game adjustments based upon what Nick Saban and his staff show. All right. So I'm thinking about last year's TCU game, right? And the TCU ended up, as bad as that game went, TCU ended up winning that game by only 6 points or a touchdown. So if anything had gone differently, I mean, in theory, if anything had gone differently in that game, if JJ McCarthy and Khalil Mullings had not fumbled the ball at the goal line, if the referee had ruled Roman Wilson's catch a touchdown. If JJ had not thrown either of those 2 pick sixes, Michigan probably wins that game. But there were a number of coaching farts there, like the Philly special and not making the in-game adjustments early enough, not running the ball out to the perimeter and not using JJ in the running game early enough. So my one ask, or should I say my other ask for Santa Claus to drop in our maize and blue stockings this Christmas is for the coaching staff to properly scheme for Alabama, and then once they get in the game, to make the proper adjustments for whatever Bama does. Don't just assume you can line up and run the ball. Michigan hasn't been a dominant running team the entire year. Don't just assume that whatever worked before is going to work. Okay, make those adjustments, properly scheme for the Crimson Tide, because they're going to do it for us. Now, I'm not so worried. I was thinking earlier, I'm not so worried about Jesse Minter and the defense. I trust Jesse Minter. Jesse Minter is a savvy and crafty defensive coordinator. My concern is the offense. Are they going, assuming the team is healthy, are they going to be able to be creative? Are they going to throw a few wrinkles at Nick Saban's defense? Are they going to be able to keep Nick Saban's defense on its heels? Will they call something like a Philly special? Will they call something that will lose the game for us? So Sharon Moore has done a good job all season, but this is Bama. So that's my second wish for this game. Scheme, do a good job scheming for the game and make the in-game adjustments to put our guys in position to win the game and advance to the final game. And everyone, that's all I've got. So right now, Michigan is picked to win by 2.5 points. For me, that's too close to call. The game could go either way. And right now, a lot of people are picking Bama. There's speculation that Michigan and its players are afraid of the Crimson Tide. And I think people are looking to see if Michigan can match Alabama's toughness and their athleticism and their level of physicality, because that's what SEC teams are known for. And if they don't, if the game goes in the opposite direction, if it goes to the opposite extreme, then the other fan bases and the pundits and Paul Feinbaum and the Ohio State fans, they'll all say, see, you guys won all those games by those large margins, but you scheduled all soft teams. Now is the time to prove it. Now is the time to prove that despite all that, we're still a tough team. Shout out to Ryan Day. And I think that's all I've got for now. So again, I will be making more videos leading up to the Rose Bowl matchup. I like to look at the statistics. I will do some more analysis of Alabama and their team. I was just rewatching the Georgia game, the SEC championship game last night. So I'm going to look at that, and I'm going to see what I can see and see what I can glean. So look out for more content here, and maybe I'll do another live stream. Last year before the TCU game, I did a live stream where many of my subs came up and talked. So look out for all of that in the coming weeks. So this is it, guys. One saying I've been hearing quite a bit in the last couple of days is, to be the man, you have to beat the man. Nick Saban has in many ways owned the college football playoff, with the exception of a few years. Ric Flair the Nature Boy is a fan and a friend of Coach Harbaugh and the program. So, woo! So, in order to beat the man, you have to, no, in order to be the man, you have to beat the man. Let me get that right. So, let's see what happens. Everyone, this is Big Discussions 76 Sports. My name is Dr. Anwar Yusuf Dunbar. Shout out to Bo Lytle. Respect is earned. Please like, share, and subscribe if you want to donate something to the channel. That information is below in the description box. Also, please consider signing up for the Big Words LLC Newsletter. In addition to being a YouTube content creator, I'm also a writer with 2 blogs, and I am working on a sports-related book. So everyone, I will talk to you again soon. I will also give some thoughts on the other game, the Sugar Bowl matchup between Washington and Texas, leading up to January 1st, 2024. So with that, everyone, go blue. And as always, remember that your attitude determines your altitude. Always try to do your best. Take care, and I will talk to you the next time. Remember, Coach Harbaugh and staff, scheme well, study the film, create a quality game plan for Bama. Coach Harbaugh, you have a lot to prove here. You have to win your first semifinal game. All right? So I'll talk to you all the next time. Bye-bye.